Fox versus Rockshox is one of the biggest rivalries in the mountain biking world, and for good reason. Both companies make outstanding products. They sponsor world-class athletes, and of course, they have a massive fan base. If you were to ask any rider that you run into on the trail what their preference is between Fox or Rockshox, believe me, they would have a preference. But is there a clear winner between the two? Well, there are certainly some big differences in their product offerings. In this video, we're going to take a look at the lineups that both brands offer in order to help you decide which product is best for you. But before we get started with that, let us know whether you're Team Fox or Team Rockshox down in the comments and why. Before we get into the nitty-gritty specifics of each product, let's quickly touch on the brand as a whole. Fox was founded in 1974 by Bob Fox and initially focused on motocross. In 1993, Fox entered the mountain biking world and quickly became known for their precision engineering and durability. Fox has continued to push the boundaries with technologies like the factory-level Kashima coating and live valve electronic suspension. Rockshox, on the other hand, was founded in 1989 by mountain bikers for mountain bikes. Rockshox revolutionized mountain biking by introducing the first production suspension fork, the RS1. Throughout the 90s, Rockshox continued to innovate with products like the Judy and the Boxer, setting the standard in mountain bike suspension for decades to come. Today, Rockshox continues to offer reliable, high-performance suspension products and are especially known for their wide range of products at a variety of prices. So clearly, both brands have quite a history. But let's take a closer look at the current products in their lineup right now. Both brands offer dozens of products at a range of prices for every discipline. To keep this video from being hours long, we're going to outline the key performance differences that translate across the entire lineup. But if you have any questions on specific products, make sure to drop a comment below and we'll be sure to answer it. Now, let's start off at the front of the bike with the fork. Fox's nomenclature is refreshingly simple, with the 32, 34, 36, 38, and 40. And the number represents the diameter of the upper portion of the fork, also referred to as the stanchion. As you might imagine, the smaller the diameter, the lighter the fork, but also less robust. So the 32 is almost exclusively found on XC bikes, whereas the 38 and 40 are on long travel, enduro, and downhill bikes. Each fork is available in 4 different tiers: Rhythm, Performance, Performance Elite, and Factory. And as you move up the ladder, you get additional features like lighter materials and higher quality dampers, which we'll be discussing shortly. Rockshox is a little more confusing, but they also make 5 different discipline-specific forks, which in order from XC to DH are the Sid, Pike, Lyric, Zeb, and Boxer. Each of these are available in 4 different quality tiers: Base, Select, Select Plus, and Ultimate. And just as with Fox, moving from Base to Ultimate gets you better features and lower weight materials. But Rockshox also makes similar budget-centric forks with less costly materials and more simple internals. To make things a bit more confusing, these forks go by different names. You might recognize some of them as the Judy, Revelation, Recon, or the Yari. Here at BikesOnline, we sell a variety of Fox and Rockshox forks, and our Polygon Siskiyou T8 features the Fox 34 Rhythm, which strikes the perfect balance between performance and value. Many of our more affordable bikes, like the Polygon Siskiyou T6, use the Rockshox Recon, and it's awesome that we can spec such an adjustable and reliable fork on these bikes. Lastly, our top-end bikes, like the Colossus N9, use Fox Performance Elite forks, which actually have the exact same internals and features as the highest-end factory level, just without the flashy Kashima coating. Now let's move away from the specific models for a quick second to talk about what's going on inside of these forks. Most mountain bike forks are equipped with 2 important internal components: their air spring and damper. As the name would imply, the air spring is quite literally a spring that can be adjusted by adding or removing air. Despite what marketing teams will try to tell you, there's not a huge difference between how these function. Where there is a difference, however, is in the damper, which adjusts how easily the fork compresses under load and how quickly it rebounds when the load has been removed. Both brands feature a range of dampers, and we'll start with Fox. Fox released 3 new top-tier dampers for 2024, the Grip X2, Grip X, and Grip SL, each of which have been specifically designed to perform in a given type of terrain, with Grip X2 excelling on descents, the Grip X being the most well-rounded, and the Grip SL focusing on weight savings and efficient climbing. The Grip X and X2 both feature high and low speed compression and rebound adjustment, making them highly tunable for specific situations, whereas the SL damper has a more straightforward 3-position compression adjustment for quick on-the-fly changes. Lastly, Fox still makes the original Grip damper, which might be their lowest tier option, but it still comes with an effective, user-friendly set of low-speed compression and rebound adjustments that, between you and me, is all 90% of riders really need anyway. RockShox dampers follow a similar pattern, and they recently released a brand new damper called the Charger 3.1, which, like the Grip X and X2, has high and low speed compression adjustment, which is ideal for elite riders looking to fine-tune their fork's performance. Next to that is the Charger Race Day 2 damper, found on RockShox's high-end XC fork that features a 3-way compression setting similar to the Fox Grip SL. Below that is the Charger RC damper, which, similar to Fox's Grip damper, trades in maximal adjustability for weight savings and user-friendly setup. Unlike Fox, RockShox also serves the entry-level budget bike market, and their older TK, which stands for turnkey, is what you'll often find on forks in this sector. This has a simple on-off lockout compression adjustment, great for casual riding and beginners, but not ideal for more performance-minded intermediate to advanced riders. In general, most riders agree that Fox forks provide a more sporty, more precise feel, allowing riders to accurately gauge what the front end of the bike is doing at any given moment. RockShox forks, on the other hand, are known for how soft and supple they are at the top of the travel, giving you the sensation of floating above the trail. Now, neither of these are better or worse than the other, but it really does come down to your personal preference. Each brand also includes additional features that may sway you one way or the other. In most cases, the Fox forks are often a little lighter than RockShox, so riders looking for the lightest possible bike may want to consider one of their offerings. Fox's highest-end factory products also feature their iconic gold Kashima coating, which claims to help reduce friction, making the suspension even more supple at the top of the stroke. RockShox high-end forks achieve a similar result with something they call buttercups. These small rubber discs live at the bottom of the fork and help absorb small hits and vibrations before ever getting to the bike and the rider. Another big perk found on RockShox forks and shocks alike are their integrated sag guides, which allow you to quickly and accurately adjust sag on the fly. Next up, let's move to the back of the bike and talk about the shocks. Fox makes a whopping 5 different air shocks and 2 coil shocks. The air-sprung shocks all go by the name float, with a different suffix denoting the type of bike and riding they're designed for. For example, the Float SL is the lightest shock designed for trail bikes. The Float DPS and Float X are all-around trail bike options, and the Float X2 for enduro and downhill bikes. The 2 coil shocks are the DHX and DHX2, the former most commonly found on enduro bikes, and the latter reserved for the longest travel downhill rigs. Now, RockShox rear suspension is just as diverse, and on the air-sprung side of the spectrum, going from XC to DH, is the Sidlux, Monarch, Deluxe, Super Deluxe, and finally the Vivid. Each of these models, except for the Sidlux and Monarch, is also available as a coil shock. Just as with the forks, we sell bikes spec'd with a variety of shocks from Fox or RockShox. The bike I've been spending most of my time on lately, the Polygon Siskiyou T9, comes spec'd with a Fox Float X Performance Elite shock. This, as well as RockShox equivalent the Super Deluxe, is what's called a piggyback shock. In a nutshell, the additional fluid found in the piggyback helps mitigate heat, which increases suspension consistency during prolonged descents. And to me, this is a no-brainer on a hard-charging bike like the T9. And that brings us to another important suspension question to ask ourselves. What's the difference between coil or air suspension, and which one is better for me? Air and coil shocks each have distinct characteristics and are suited to different riding styles and preferences. Air shocks, like the forks we mentioned earlier, use air pressure rather than a physical spring, and are therefore typically lighter and easier to adjust. They're also naturally progressive, meaning they get increasingly harder to compress the further into the travel you go. This can make them feel a bit more playful and sporty, as well as preventing harsh bottom outs on shorter travel shocks. All of this makes them a popular choice for a majority of cross-country and trail riders who prioritize weight savings and versatility. Coil shocks, on the other hand, use a metal coil spring and are known for their robust nature and consistent performance, particularly over long descents. This makes them ideal for downhill and enduro riding. They also offer better small bump sensitivity since there's virtually zero friction that has to be overcome while compressing. That said, coil shocks are heavier and less adjustable. Ultimately, the choice between air and coil shocks will come down to the rider's needs, the type of terrain, and of course, personal preference. Speaking of personal preference, Polygon's enduro bike, the Colossus, is coil shock compatible. Now, if you're going to ask us to declare a winner, we may just have to say it's kind of a wash. Both Fox and Rockshox make a slew of excellent products, and what makes one better than the other totally leans on a rider's personal goals. So hopefully this video gave you a better understanding of the products that each brand offers. Now, if you have any questions about anything we went over today, or really any specific products that Fox or Rockshox offers, make sure to drop a comment below. While you're down there, hit that like and subscribe button to Bikes Online channel where I'll be hanging out. And after you've done that, get out on your bike and get ripping.